A recent podcast, you talked about this idea of like being the sun and the main character of your life. Can you talk to us about like just like main character energy and how to like sustain that in a world that kind of tries to marginalize people and all that? Like, how do you keep that main focus of keep being the sun?
Yeah, I think that, it is important to be the sun and to be the main character of your own life while also recognizing that we don't necessarily have to be the main character of other people's lives. We're all in community together. But I think, particularly for women and for women of color, a lot of us are really socialized to be very self-sacrificial in a lot of ways. We're often taught to put everybody above ourselves, and that can be really detrimental to our health, to our well-being, to our quality of life. And so, really, my message there is to encourage people to do what's good for them and to make sure that that is their top priority.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And again, it's like just it allows you to, because I think so often, like like I said, you feel kind of like you marginalize yourself. You always put yourself on the back burner, but when you bring yourself to life, and that's kind of what I was talking about, like that, like when you come alive, it allows people to see the best version of yourself. And I think with your podcast, the conversation you have, especially in this season of like having solo episodes, just like those conversations have really been enriched from what you're talking about there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, I started off my show as an interview-based podcast, and over the years, my audience has given me the feedback that they really love the solos. And so for this season, I'm kind of giving the people what they want. I'm not going to be solo forever, though. I don't want to
Yeah.
disappoint anybody. I love interviewing people. Interviewing people to me is more enjoyable than sitting and talking to myself. So I'll never be fully done with interviews, but it has been fun to speak directly to the audience in this current season.
Yeah, how's that been? Do you do like mostly like scripting on the front end, or is it like do you kind of allow yourself to go on tandems? Like how do you kind of balance that approach for solo episodes?
It's a combination of both. So I do write scripts for each episode. I'll do research. I'll make sure that I have my points that I want to make, and I'll write a detailed script. I will rehearse it. But when I actually sit down to record, I don't have that in front of me. And whatever version, of the episode comes out is what comes out. So it's kind of a combination of both.
No, that's good. I also kind of wanted, as we're talking about coming alive, like what were some books and like stories that from your childhood that kind of shaped your life?
Ooh, I mean, this is going to sound so stereotypical, but definitely the Harry Potter series. And I'm
Okay.
old enough to have read all of the Harry Potter books as they were released, and getting to experience the phenomenon of that series and that world of characters in real time and getting to anticipate the next book and, you know, just the way that my generation was so excited and got to experience that story as it was being told was definitely something that helped me fall in love with reading and world development for sure.
Now it's funny because I'm the same way. Like Harry Potter definitely was big when I was growing up, but then also a lot of people say Twilight now too. Like I feel like every person's either like saying Harry Potter or they're saying Twilight. And I can always kind of like, okay, yeah, I know what kind of books that have shaped your life. So,
I've never read Twilight or
oh,
seen any
okay.
of them. I've never consumed any Twilight content, never seen the movies, never. But because I'm from Seattle, people are always like, "Oh, isn't Twilight there?" I'm like, first of all, that's Forks. That's totally different. But yeah, I've never consumed any Twilight content.
Yeah, and I know when I listen to your podcast, you're always bringing up books. So like, how much do books, stories, and like learning like play a role into like the balanced lifestyle and how does that kind of work? How do you work that into your lifestyle?
It's been something that's become a bigger part of my life over the past few years. For a long time, I hadn't really read much in my early adulthood. And I think a lot of people experience that. It's like you go to school, school can sometimes take the fun out of reading. And I say this as a devoted reader who loves books. Sometimes school and the way books and literature and reading is presented in school can just make it not fun for a while. So after I graduated college, I was like, I need a break. I need to pause. And then once I got back into reading in my early 20s, I dove headfirst into like self-help and personal development. And that also didn't necessarily inspire the fun in reading because it felt like a chore. It
Yeah.
felt like work. And about 2 years ago now, almost 2 years ago, I just picked back up fiction and I hadn't read a fiction book. Couldn't even tell you the last time. And I read 7 Days in June by Tia
Okay.
Williams, which is a
Yep.
very popular romance novel. I just saw this girl on TikTok talking about it. It was winter break, like right after Christmas in 2021. And I was scrolling TikTok, saw this girl talking about it. I was like, that sounds good. I have this week off from work between Christmas and New Year's. Like, I'll read this novel. I haven't read a novel in forever. And it fully reignited my love of reading and my love of fiction that I hadn't really explored since I was a kid. And I've been avidly reading ever since. And I think it taught me that you can have things that you do for self-care that are purely for joy. Not
Yeah.
everything has to be personal development or to learn a new skill or self-improvement. You can also gain so much just from reading the stories of different characters. Excuse me, different
Yeah.
characters and immersing yourself in different worlds.
Yeah, that's well said. Because even in this season for me, is like I used to always kind of read like more business, personal. Well, I kind of stopped personal development because they kind of start saying the same thing over and over again. But like even what you're saying, like now I've kind of tried to listen to more fiction novels and get into that. Like even Tia Williams, we for one of our book clubs on our platform, it was a love song for Ricky Wilde. So
Oh,
like we listened to
yes.
that. So like it's been a lot of like learning different books and what comes from that is it's like that worldview improves, right? You get to see yourself in different characters and see yourself in books that you may not have once like even looked to go see.
Exactly. It's so great for learning about other people, learning different perspectives, gaining empathy, boosting creativity. I mean, there's so many benefits to reading fiction, and people try to write it off as being trivial. I also think people do that a lot for the romance genre, which I think is problematic. Also, I love romance books, but people try to write it off as if it's, you know, not valuable or not impactful. And I could also go on a tangent about how I think that's because it's a female dominated genre, primarily female authors and female readers. And anytime that majority of women like something, it then becomes trivialized. But there's so much value in these stories and in getting immersed in these worlds and characters. And I think it's a great form of self-care.
No, I think you're right. And we talked to like a lot of different women creators in this space. And again, it's the biggest genre too. So it's one of those things where you're really just not even looking at the numbers or like looking at the community. Because if you go into any book space, all you see is romance and these conversations. And it's not even just like, oh, this. It's like actually integrated into, oh, this reminds me of this. And I think it's really awesome. And just being in the space, I've always appreciated the community that comes around those books. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookumapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.